Hello and welcome to The Good, the Bad and the Worst, a podcast where we watch movie trilogies and decide which film is coarse and rough and irritating and gets everywhere. I'm your host Griner, and joining me tonight...
I am the Senate. And this is how podcasting dies, with thunderous applause.
Hello there, I'm Luke Morgan, and I've been looking forward to this.
Boys, it's probably the most memed movies in history.
Yes.
The prequel, Star Wars Prequel Trilogy, the second podcast in our trilogy of podcasts about the Star Wars trilogies.
Yes.
Boys, these movies started out very much maligned as a series of films, and now they're very much memed as a series of films. What is your experience with these films?
Conan, I'll let you go first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last week I said I was looking forward to doing a rewatch. I was pretty keen to see if anything had changed after the dust had settled. And I can safely say that after watching these, nothing has changed. They're still, for the most part, very bad.
Yeah, more dust has settled on top of them. So that's the thing. Obviously, I was young when these first came out. I remember watching Phantom Menace at the cinema when it came out. At the time, loved it. Thought Darth Maul was like the coolest thing ever. Thought little kid Anakin, I wanted his haircut that he had at the end of the movie when he has the little rat tail. Thought that was cool when I was a little 6-year-old. Over the years, obviously, realized they're not great films. Then they had kind of a renaissance when it came to the memes and on the internet culture where people sort of looked at them in a fond way. And I mean, I can enjoy them for what they are now with pointing out the 100 memes that exist in these movies, but man, they're rough viewing, I find sometimes, with some good stuff sprinkled very lightly in there every now and again.
A light sprinkling of sand, if you will.
Ooh.
Man, I might be kind of a bit more positive on these movies than you guys.
Oh.
I literally haven't watched them. I think I watched them all in preparation for Revenge of the Sith, and then have not watched them since. See the memes, but still don't feel like they're good movies. And then I watched them, and I'm like, I don't know. There's some good stuff here. I had a fun time here and there. There's definitely a lot of bad stuff. I'm not going to deny that at all. There's a lot of crap. A lot of things that haven't aged well. A lot of... I don't know why nobody's cancelled these movies for being racist, but anyway, we won't go too deep into that. But there's definitely some playing on some stereotypes there.
Are you a Jar Jar apologist?
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
Jar, it's yeah. Well, I mean, we'll get into it, but it's funny seeing the evolution of how much Jar Jar is in these movies as they go along.
Yeah, it's perfect.
To basically a cameo in the third movie, but funny story about Jar Jar Binks. I don't remember ever liking him as a kid either, but I remember once getting my hair cut, and it was like my favorite hairdresser at the time. I was like, this is the only person in this town that does my haircut good, and had this really awkward moment where I was talking about Star Wars many years ago, and I was like, oh yeah, talking about the originals and the prequel trilogy. I was like, oh, and then the prequels weren't as good as the originals because obviously you have stupid characters like Jar Jar that only morons like, and it became really silent. And then she was just like, I liked Jar Jar, and never went back again. Never went back again. Went to a different hairdresser.
You walked out, your hair was half cut, and you're like, I'm out.
It wasn't good. It was easily the worst haircut she ever did. So, yeah.
I have a really vivid memory of the first movie coming out, and we were visiting family in Canada, which is a big deal for us. We never went overseas, but we were visiting family in Canada, and I remember hearing someone in a saying that Jar Jar is so funny in these movies. You got to see it because of Jar Jar, and just I mean, I was young then. Like, I was probably too young to appreciate how bad he was, but oh boy, he's terrible.
Was he funny when you were a kid? Like, was there any part of you that laughed at it? Because I only saw these when I was, I don't know, either nearly a teenager, so I didn't really have any sort of initial impression, I guess.
I think some of the slapstick stuff is okay. It's not good, don't get me wrong, but I think kids enjoy slapstick comedy a lot more than any other age group, for sure. I think some of the slapstick stuff hits, in some ways, but there's
too much of it.
There's way too much of it, and he is such a grating character in every other way.
Yep. I'll just say, when like I remember finding maybe 2 things funny, and like watching them now, I was like, "That's right. I used to like this scene when I was a kid." So the with Jar Jar was it's him getting his tongue stuck in the pod race, the pod
That's the
thing,
one that comes to my mind too. So it must have been a good scene.
and him pulling the blue balls off the back of that thing, and then
That's the
running
other
away.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, yep. Them two got laughs at me out as a kid. So
Yeah.
yep.
All right. Should we dig in? Let's have a look at the stats.
Stats.
Yeah, I was waiting for it.
Stats.
All right.
I waited this time because the last 2 times Conan's interrupted after the dance, and it's
That's what
been
I
very
do.
awkward.
All right, box office. The Phantom Menace worldwide box office of $1 billion, just over $1 billion. Attack of the Clones 649 million, and Revenge of the Sith 850 million. Quite a drop off there. And then critical response: Phantom Menace 51 on Metacritic, Attack of the Clones 54, and Revenge of the Sith 68. I would like to point out that our favourite Rotten Tomatoes has Revenge of the Sith at 80%, which is quite a stellar score, if you ask me.
What are the other 2 at?
So Phantom Menace is 52 and Attack of the Clones is 65 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
80%. It's a reliable metric, isn't it?
It's great. It's so good.
Wow.
That's awful. That's heinous.
All right. Well, before we get into it, Dennis Franz, have we got someone in mind he could take over the casting of and save these movies?
Watto. He's Watto.
The voice of
man.
Watto. Yeah, it's not a bad one.
Or the CGI for Watto as well. Either or. Mocap, sir.
Just put wings on him. Just have the actor stand there, but with wings.
There's so many little characters in these movies that just appear for a couple of scenes. Merchandising, I think, but
100%.
And there's like a 1,000 different senators and stuff that you could easily just like what Jimmy Smits plays. What's his face? Organa.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's a non-role, but he's enough of a role that you could sort of have him in there. And
yeah.
No, Dennis Franz, Jango Fett. So all the clones are Dennis Franz. I want to see thousands of Dennis Franzes with helmets.
The Book of Boba Fett with Dennis Franz.
The Book of Dennis Franz.
He could appear in that montage of the Jedi getting killed. He's just a Jedi on some planet far off, and the clones take him down.
Yep,
I can see that.
Can I just talk about real quick the $1 billion that Phantom Menace made?
There was a thirst for Star Wars at that time.
Dude,
it was. I think it's so funny seeing the reception now. Just like they made $1 billion in 1999. That's a lot of money. Yeah. And I remember even hearing a statistic once, like the global economy lost like super huge amounts of money because so many people took the day off work to go and see that on opening day. So it's like this astronomical amount of like the money, like the world just sort of stopped doing business in a lot of ways because everyone was seeing Star Wars, which is just so funny. And just, I don't know, it's just
them poor souls.
Like, there's this great film, I don't know if you guys saw it, called Fanboys, and it ends with that sort of thing. It's these super huge Star Wars fans. The last scene is them seeing Phantom Menace, and they're like, hey, what if this is bad? And it just ends.
Yeah, it's a great ending to that film.
Yeah. All right. Phantom Menace. When the evil Trade Federation plots to take over the peaceful planet of Naboo, Jedi warrior Qui-Gon Jinn and his apprentice knight Obi-Wan Kenobi embark on an amazing adventure to save the planet. With them on their journey is the young Queen Amidala, Gungan outcast Jar Jar Binks, and the powerful Captain Panako, who will all travel to the faraway planets of Tatooine and Coruscant in a futile attempt to save their world from Darth Sidious, leader of the Trade Federation, and Darth Maul, the strongest Dark Lord of the Sith to ever wield a lightsaber.
Ooh.
That's a mouthful.
From that synopsis, I'm actually intrigued.
You want to go back and watch Phantom Menace? That sounds promising.
What? It keeps getting me every few years. I'm like, maybe it wasn't as bad, but then it is. Like, it's the biggest kind of question of these prequels, I think, is like, why did they go down the politics route? And some people really hate it, and I can see why it loses a lot of the essence of sort of, the whole like Star Wars is a story about good versus evil and pretty clear-cut morality and found family. Whereas this one's then like the machinations of trade and politics. And I can totally see why people hate it, but I enjoy the idea of it. I really enjoy the theory of unpacking this world. and being like, here's how some certain stuff happens in this massive, massive thing. Here's how governing a system of 1,000 planets slows right down and the gears of justice don't turn. Like, there's all cool ideas here, and that's kind of the recurring theme in the whole trilogy, right? There's good
Yeah.
ideas, but there is so many scenes of boring, weird-looking aliens just talking about nonsense that I'm like, rewrite this film from the ground up, and
Yep.
I'm interested.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's a lot of potential, obviously, and that's the thing. I feel like so many people. I think the narrative around Phantom Menace at the time was people like watching were like, "Oh yeah, Star Wars, this is awesome," and it's sort of that on after the ride home, like, was that bad? Like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, was that maybe I should go watch it again. I don't know how I feel about it, and like they wake up the next day like, what did I watch last night? Like, what was that really Star Wars? What's
Trade
going on?
agreements and senators, what's going on? Yeah, it's a weird direction to take Star Wars. I'm into it too. Like, I would be there if it was more sort of political intrigue, but I think the political side of it's done really poorly. Like, it's not that interesting in the end.
Not at all.
And then
There's
you're right.
interesting things in it,
Yeah.
like with the politics side. Like I do find it fascinating, like everything with Palpatine and how he's manipulating stuff to get a foothold in, and like how it. That's all stuff that I sort of forget about. Where I'm like, oh, okay, so that's how he came into power. It was all Jar Jar's fault in the end, but
It is. It
it
totally is.
really is. He killed all the Jedi. But yeah, there's interesting stuff, but they like most stuff, they don't, George Lucas does not do it well. So
No.
He is such an interesting dude, right? Like,
yeah,
so all he's directed, he's a big, obviously, producer in throughout the 70s and 80s as
Mm.
well. But all that he's directed are the Star Wars films and two other movies, both of which are actually like very revered. THX 1138, a lot of people consider one of the best early sci-fi films made in 71. And American Graffiti is a huge cult classic. Like, everyone reveres that movie.
that was George Lucas. Oh
Yeah.
shit.
So he made these two films that are actually meant to be really good. I haven't seen either of them, but people love and adore, and by all accounts are great movies.
Mm.
Then he makes New Hope, which is great. But then he makes these three, and just something goes wrong. I don't know if he got a brain injury or.
Because at the same time, he starts fiddling with his old ones, like we
Yeah.
talked about last podcast. Starts wrecking them with the
Yeah.
same slapstick CGI stupid characters that
Yeah.
are everywhere. There's so much in these films of CGI, like so many CGI characters
Yeah.
and so many CGI stuff that's just like, it's
It doesn't
yeah.
look good. Doesn't
No,
look good now either.
It doesn't hold up. There's like even from the start, you notice there's like a real disconnect between you've got Ewan McGregor there swinging his lightsaber, and like he doesn't feel like he's connecting with anything. Like
No.
all these droids just fall apart in front of him, and he swings in places, and there's nothing there. Like, he's obviously acting to nothing, and it's
Yeah.
I don't know if it's really early. It's probably not early on in green screen, but like there wasn't this level of CGI that much before that, so I don't know that people
No.
understood how to act to it like they do today.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's right.
Or
Yeah,
direct
it's
to it, obviously, either. And there's a real disc. Like, those lightsabers just feel like they're nothing. They don't feel
Yeah.
cool or weighty or powerful.
No, it's chalk and cheese between what we'll talk about next fortnight with the newest trilogy. Like, the battles in that feel really weighty and heavy and really cool. Whereas in this, yeah, it is just it's dancing, and some of the fights look really great, but a lot of them just
The
look
choreography's cool, but sometimes it doesn't make sense.
no.
Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, we'll get into it when we discuss the certain movies in the trilogy. But yeah,
One,
like some fights, I'm just like, what are you doing right now? Like, what?
I'll
yeah,
defend the Darth Maul fight. Like, I think that the
Oh, dude, you don't have to.
but
Like,
the music is so good.
yeah,
Like, that whole scene works really well. Like, I think that's like chef's kiss. Best part of probably this whole trilogy, in
the
my
whole
opinion.
trilogy,
Yeah.
John
100%.
Williams is always carrying hard. Everything he does is still
Yeah.
good. Have you seen that video though? It's like done as a training lesson by like some pompous sort of dance teacher, and he's going through that fight scene and he's like narrating it all, and it keeps like going to little parts and reversing them and showing how no one's swinging at anything. So it really looks like in the heat of the moment you don't notice, but as soon as you unpack any of them, they swing a sword over someone's head and no one's there, and it's like this looks like choreographed ballet. It doesn't make sense for a fight. Looks
I,
flashy and cool. But
with
it's also
with Duel of the Fates by John Williams playing
Yeah.
it, that final scene, like my son had gotten bored by this point and had left the room, and he's like, "I'm not watching any more of this film." And I was like, "No, come back for this. We'll watch this." And he sat
Yeah.
there and watched the whole fight, and I was like, "That was cool, wasn't it? Sorry that I put you through the rest of the film. Like you can head back and come back later." But
yeah.
Yeah, like there's
Yeah.
definitely a real dancing feel to it. Like
Hmm.
it's a bit like, it feels like they're wrestling or something. They're pulling all their punches and not actually they're swinging around people, but it still looks really
Yeah.
cool. Tie that in with the music, and I think some of the better visuals of the whole trilogy. I think it's
Darth
Yeah.
Maul's just cool. That's
and
something in
Darth Maul is super cool
Darth Maul's cool in this film, and
and
like,
totally underused.
yep, so
But
much.
no, but don't say that like it's a bad thing, because we've seen this happen with Boba Fett, where they use him too much. We want
But
to
you
keep
can
Darth Maul
use,
underused. We don't want him to be a Darth. We don't want a Darth Maul
but
series guy.
he could be cool though.
I
Boba Fett should have been cool.
Yeah, he should have, but he's not when you unpack him as a character.
Yeah, I think Darth Maul's a fairly big character in the Clone Wars. Is my
Yeah,
understanding.
he is.
Yeah.
He has a bigger role.
And he, yeah. Oh. Have you watched Solo?
Yes.
No, I don't care to spoil it all you want.
Well, he's back in that. So
Yes.
spoilers for Solo, but then again, I don't think we're ever seeing a continuation of that. So it was
Alright,
basically
no.
a cameo, which is
That's
a
a
shame.
good. That's a good segue into my biggest issues with this film. Why is every single character who is relevant throughout these movies in every film? Why is C-3PO being built by Anakin?
Oh, dude, that's
Why
my
is
next
R2D2
note.
there?
I was like, of course, C3PO had to be built by Anakin. It's the problem, and everyone brings this up with Star Wars. It's the whole small world syndrome, or whatever they
Yes.
call it, and it's everyone is related to these three people,
Yeah.
and they created the universe.
Like,
Yeah,
They've rebranded it the Skywalker Saga, which I like.
Which-
Okay,
yeah.
okay, this is just the story of this family. This family is supposed to bring balance to the Force, so it kind of makes sense that they're involved throughout the whole trilogy. But I mean, does every droid have to be made by him? Probably not. I'm glad.
that's what I mean.
The one thing I was glad about is they didn't dip into the Han Solo. They show Chewie for a little bit, but not much. Like they totally
Yeah.
could have introduced every single character and given you their whole backstory. But he was at least reserved a little bit in that.
Yeah.
Like you half expect them in the third one to bring out a baby and be like, "This is my baby Han. He's gonna be flying solo one day," and then just that's it.
And then he winks at the camera.
Yeah.
He
Uh-huh.
shoots first.
Yeah.
It's just Darth Maul's cool though. I've always liked Darth Maul.
Yeah.
As a kid, thought he was cool.
Everyone likes
The
Darth Maul.
double
He's got spikes on
lightsaber
his head.
is so cool.
Yeah.
For some reason, always forget that he speaks in this film. I always saw him as this like silent person that shows up, does the sand fight, then the fight at the end, and he's following Sidious in the holograms. I always forget he doesn't speak much. Obviously, he doesn't have a monologue.
What does he
But-
say? Is it only that one line where he's like,
He has like two lines where he's like, "Yes, master," or
Yeah.
like says, "I'll do this" or something. But
yeah.
like every time he talks, I'm like, "Oh, that's right. I forgot he talks."
Again,
But,
it's Boba Fett.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it totally is.
Yep.
You're right. Maybe it's how much they talk is how cool they are. Because
Directly correlation.
Jango Fett is a lot less cool than Boba Fett.
Yes,
Yeah,
for
he
sure.
is.
Yep.
What do you guys think of Jake Lloyd? Baby Anakin.
Best Anakin.
Ooh.
Oh, that's not true at all.
Ooh, I don't think that's true, but
Yippee!
he was, I don't know, he was kind of hard. Like, kid actors are hard to, they're hard to get right, but he's
They are, but
pretty bad.
they happen, right? We've got
They
it
do.
right numerous times. It's just he is the one that perfectly exemplifies the detach between Lucas's directing ability and what I think he's trying to get out of these films. Because you can tell Jake Lloyd has nothing, and
Mm.
Lucas has no idea what to do. And again, I don't know if it's just because he didn't care or if he's just so deep in his rabbit hole of like, I've got to make sure the sand's all the right angles. I don't know what exactly it is, but Jake Lloyd has no idea how to pronounce things. He has no idea how to like just use his voice properly. So many lines are clunky and awkward. So many things are like his script is awful as well. So Lucas's writing's really bad.
And like getting a kid to speak like the Huttese, it sounds really awkward and weird and unnecessary because everybody else
Yeah.
speaks to them in English. Like,
Yeah.
entirely unnecessary.
Yeah. Again, raises questions. How do the languages work in this?
They don't. They don't make any
Oh,
sense.
Yeah, I really he ruins this film for me. Like it's on his shoulders, and it's really like you see on all the cover art, it's him and the shadowy casts of
Which is an
Darth.
awesome like cover
That's a
poster. Like
cool
it's so
cover.
It is.
good.
That's
I
awesome.
agree, and I love I love the idea of there being like watching young Anakin, and we gradually see like if this trilogy works, it works so well. Seeing him from the kid and what makes Darth Vader who he is.
Yeah.
See,
He's really bad.
see, I didn't find him that bad. Obviously, he's bad, and there's a few lines of dialogue I wrote down where I'm like, oh, like I'm a person and my name is Anakin. Like, she was just asking what your job was. But like I feel like it's the opposite of the Jar Jar thing where I remember liking Anakin when I was a kid. Like as a kid watching another kid, I'm like, oh, it's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
kid. Like it doesn't like ruin the movie for me as a kid. Obviously, now I watch it, I'm like, he's a bad child actor. But
Yeah.
that's always gonna be the case, I don't think he ruins this film or anything like that. But
it's fair.
yeah.
It's like it seems really sad, like his personal life up to this as well.
Yeah,
He's
it
got
didn't work out well
yeah,
for him.
like so much
No.
criticism and flack, and it's like
Or maybe
you
should
know,
have been cast as in number 2 and 3.
I mean, because fandoms are toxic, right? And Star Wars probably the worst of all.
Yeah.
And it's sad to see this guy who seems to really been swallowed up and like chewed up and spat out by it because yeah,
Yeah.
not entirely his fault.
There's not
No,
very many
It's-
good performances in this trilogy. Like full stop. Like
No,
I think
no.
Ewan McGregor probably stands out as being pretty good. At least committed to the role and enjoying what
Yeah.
he's doing.
Do you guys like him in this one?
he doesn't do much in the first one,
No,
really.
this is his
I
least.
forget how little involved he is in the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Qui-Gon's great. I always love
Liam
like
Neeson's good.
Liam Neeson's always good. Man, we got bitched out. They killed him too early. I feel like
I mean, yeah. It's
because
necessary
he's so
though.
good though. Because he's so good. Like I would have just liked to have had more Qui-Gon. Man, like
I agree.
yeah, give me
Go-
a Qui-Gon series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I became that. And he's the heart and soul of this film. Like he's the one with the real emotional weight. And he's not even doing anything emotional, but he just sort of has I don't know, he sort of has that dilemma. Like he's trying to navigate the whole he's trying to train Obi-Wan, but he's also like, I need to take this kid on, and he's kind of playing with the rules a bit, and the Queen's like, you shouldn't do this. He's like, no, he seems almost a little bit headstrong. And this is kind of an interesting thing where he believes so much in this prophecy that he's convinced of that he's making some choices that arguably aren't great. And we see aren't great because spoiler alert, Anakin Skywalker is Darth Vader.
Yeah.
But yeah, he brings all the gravitas to the film, I think.
I feel like you can't like separate talking about this trilogy and like from what it did to ruin the original trilogy as well. Like, can we talk about midichlorians for a minute?
Well, they're
Yeah.
life forms found in every living creature, you see.
Like, it ruins the Force for me. And I know now they've basically abandoned. They don't even talk about midichlorians, and they
Yeah.
say it's other thing, But in this, they full on midichlorian, Mary, mother of like
Yeah. Immaculate conception.
the-
Yeah.
which I forgot. I didn't even
Same.
that blanked. I feel like I've never read that anywhere. So when they said it, and she's like, I don't know who the father is. I was like, what is going? And I wrote down, is Anakin like Jesus? Like, what is this? What he was going for to have this whole thing
It's
painted
totally
like
what
this?
he was
And
going for. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
So
super weird. I googled it. Did any of you guys Google? Apparently, there's a comic that reveals that it was Palpatine that
Actually, I did read
manipulated
that.
the
Yeah.
midichlorians in her because he sensed that this like I don't know, he sensed there was a high midichlorian count, so he basically impregnated her with the Force.
So
Isn't that-
unnecessary.
there's a crime there, right? Like so clear. He commits a crime.
Hey, I guess
that's
Anakin like father like son, but
that's
it's
so
really
weird.
weird. And just
Yeah.
like to be like, oh, check his blood count. Yes, no, he's really strong with the Force. Like he's got this amount of stuff in his blood. It's just
Yep.
it's not cool anymore. It's not cool. It's
No.
not like something you learn. It doesn't feel like it's something you master or anything anymore. Then it's just like
Yep.
you're
Yeah.
born with it.
For
Is
sure.
your stat high enough in midichlorians? No, sorry, you can't be a Jedi.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And like
But-
Sorry, I just want to. It really like it removes any sort of magic about the Force is something
Or
bigger than us.
spiritualness about
Yeah,
it. Like,
exactly,
Mystique.
and
Yep.
that's really what it hints at in the originals, right? It's like this is kind of like something, and that's why it's playing with the whole good and evil. It's really a sense of the spiritual connection between everybody, and it doesn't go into any like actual religious stuff, but it kind of
mhm.
plays into this bigger than life meaning. And then yeah, to add this very bad scientific biological explanation just like ruins the whole thing.
It's funny how they like establish so many things like midichlorians, Jar Jar Binks, and then they basically totally drop them after this movie. Like, I guess he
Yeah,
learned from the feedback, but
feedback.
man, it's rough.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Uh, Pod racing, yay, nay?
Nah, scrap it, burn it, send it to hell. I
I
hate it so
liked I
much.
liked it as a kid.
Yeah.
Um, I liked it as a kid. I feel like I wouldn't mind it if it wasn't for so much slapstick stuff with the commentators. Like, the commentators are so annoying
Mm,
in this. You have Jabba the Hutt just flicking things off his counter and, like, having to get woken up by Bib Fortuna. It's just, like,
Yeah.
so much stupid stuff, but I don't know, I hated Sebulba as a kid. Like, the guy the alien that messes with his
gives
pod
you a
racer.
nice villain at the start there for the kids. Yeah.
I
Mm.
liked pod racing as a kid. Man, the pod racing game was cool on Nintendo 64 or whatever. I'm not against pod racing. Could be done well. It could be
Yeah,
done
I
well.
don't mind it as a way to show that Anakin is like, he can
You
kind of
can
sense. He's the only one only human who can do it. He's got these senses and reflexes that are inhuman, which I
Yeah.
kind of like that as a vehicle to show that. But man, after reading about George Lucas's desire to merchandise everything last week, like I just couldn't help it. Here's 15 characters you can merchandise, and you can sell their pod races too. Like
yes,
Yep.
everything, every
100%.
character they add just feels like he's trying to add another character in that they can make an action figure out of, and it just
Yep.
yeah.
makes you feel really dirty.
And that's the whole pod racing thing is so indulgent. This movie is like 2 hours and like 10 or 15 minutes. Like it's 2 hours, 15
Why
minutes.
are all of these movies longer than the original ones?
Yes,
Like, they're
good
so
question.
long. It's
And the
like
pod racing scene goes for at least half an hour, I think.
it
I feel like
feels
it goes
like it.
I feel like it
Like,
goes for 2 hours, but it's really long and there's so much that we just don't need to know
Yeah,
or
I
see.
it's too
feel like
much.
they're on Tatooine dealing with Anakin and everything for an hour. Like, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
most of that movie, it feels like dealing
Yep.
with Watto and Anakin.
yeah.
Um, what did you feel like about, like, Qui-Gon getting his freedom, um, leaving the mum behind, and she's sort of it's just a weird scene to me, and obviously as a parent, like, he's like, "Oh, Anakin's free now," and she's like, "Will you take him?" And he's like, "Yes, he's gonna be a Jedi." And she's like, Okay." Like, that's her kid. Like, I get there's the whole slavery thing, and he's releasing, and she's happy, and she's cares about that. But it's like, I don't know, it feels just like very much like okay, stranger that I met half an hour ago, you're gonna take off with my son.
This
Cool,
creepy old man who wants my kid.
Yeah,
No
cool.
alarm. I see it as like a. I never had a huge issue. I saw it kind of like as like a refugee thing, right? Like you see that as parents in desperate situations, they give their kid, like even when the Taliban took over Afghanistan again recently, like parents are putting their kids on planes, just
Yeah,
taking
yeah,
them
yeah.
anywhere else. Like so, I saw it as that where, and
I
again,
get
the
that, but
problem isn't the concept. The problem is so much the execution is terrible. There's no
yeah,
emotion in it. She's just like,
no, yeah,
okay,
no emotion. She
yeah,
literally says, "So you're going to take him, yeah?" Like,
yep,
it's basically like, yeah, but, like, she's saying this in her own house.
mm.
It's not like she's like, it's not like
Yeah,
them conditions. Like, they have a house, they live together,
she's not chained
like,
up in
they
a
have dinner
basement or anything.
together. It's
yeah.
Yeah,
like,
The slavery thing is a bit weird. It's like she's owned, but she's not real. I don't know.
it's like a job. We're all slaves to our employers. It's like,
And yeah.
I don't know.
mm,
I think we're meant to understand that, Jedis are so revered that if
yeah,
a Jedi comes up and does this, there's no sense of doubt. It's like this person knows what's best for us more than, and again, even with the intricacies of the slavery unexplored or unexplained,
Mm,
I'm okay with that idea. Like this lowly caste slave woman gets told by a Jedi, a very handsome Jedi, that her
it's
kid's
Liam
going to save,
Neeson. It is Liam Neeson.
that her kid's going to save the world. Like I'm okay with being like, yeah, she's going to like, this is best for my kid. This is better than Tatooine.
yep.
I get it. I'm more the delivery of it, the
Yeah. Oh,
performance. It's like,
awful.
it doesn't
Absolutely
Terrible.
feel like that at all. It feels like okay, bye, son.
I,
Like, yeah.
I was never convinced by any like emotional scene in any of these movies. Like they're all so poorly done. Poorly
Wrong.
acted,
There's
poorly
one that
directed. All right,
works.
you'll have to tell me about it when we get to it because I assume it's not in this film.
Yes, correct.
It's not in this one, no. I think I know. I'll back it too.
Natalie Portman, Queen Amidala. How did you guys? I really hate the way she talks as the Queen. Like she you know that there's that lady.
Viceroy.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Like a weird regal accent. Yeah.
There's the have you seen the
Good.
the lady speak in the Theros case? Is it Theros? This is a whole tangent. Anyway, she has a very deep voice. Look it up. It's very put on, and she reminds me totally of that.
Theros case.
Anyway,
She's great. Like Natalie Portman's great.
Not great in this though.
she's
No.
alright. She's better than
But
a lot of other actors in these
most of the other
movies.
actors and actresses in this film.
Yeah.
She's also quite attractive.
I feel bad for her
I'll
in a
watch her
lot
for
of
2 hours.
stuff in these films. I
If
feel
you're a
bad
kid
for
and
her.
you,
Like,
yeah, I don't think it's her acting. It's again the direction. You can tell she's got nothing to work with.
Yeah.
yeah.
And yeah,
Especially in Attack of the Clones. I'm just like, oh, poor Natalie Portman.
Speaking
to
of
deal
Attack
with
of the
this.
Clones, has anyone got anything else they want to add before we?
So we touched on it earlier. I just want to say, I really do like the Maul fight. I love the whole aspect of him trying to separate them constantly, like, kick one down, then focus on this one. It is like I feel like it is kind of a powerful moment, especially as a kid when Qui-Gon does bite the dust, and it's like, oh
Yeah.
shit, now Obi-Wan's got to do it. It's cool, and like the music and everything in that scene's really awesome.
It's my favorite scene in all of these
Yeah.
movies. The whole trilogy, my favorite part.
Yeah.
As much as I don't like most of this movie, it's my favorite part.
I feel like over the years, every now and again, I'll look up that scene on YouTube and watch like that.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's very cool aesthetically and everything.
Yeah, or you see Ray Pack at like conventions and stuff, and someone will give him a lightsaber and he'll just whip out the moves, and it's like, oh yeah, you get it, you're sick. What a baller.
What about us? The coolest part, real quick, on that scene is how the doors pop up, and you've got like Obi-Wan a few doors back.
Yeah.
Qui-Gon meditates, and then Darth Maul's just like pacing, and that's a cool little character moment. I really like it.
It is. I was always like, what is the point of this section of this building? But it's okay because it's like thematically really cool and looks awesome and gives you these fun moments. So who cares, right? Like
traffic jams,
sci-fi, nonsense. Who cares?
Red light.
Do we need to talk about the Gungans more? Like, is there something?
Do we have to?
Is there something on the nose about like using the native population as cannon fodder in your war? Like, it just feels dirty to me.
It's Lucas's bread and butter. He loves it. I think somehow someone told him that the Ewoks were the best part of the original trilogy.
One person,
he was just like
his grandson or something.
That's like legit. That's probably like a kid or a friend was like, yeah, we really like that. He's like, okay, then that's what I'm doing.
Man,
yeah, it's the same thing again, and it's just as bad as it's not just as bad as the Ewoks. The Ewoks are better, but it's still again that same dumb thing of like, oh, I don't get it.
Yeah, like the Gungans in general. Obviously, Jar Jar's the worst of it. Obviously, as a kid, I was oblivious to this sort of stuff, but like you touched on earlier, Grana, it doesn't hold up politically, like correct wise. Like the film literally starts with like the Viceroy gunnery or whatever they called with like the really bad stereotype, like Chinese accents, which I can almost guarantee it was done by like a white person. Like it feels really bad,
It
and
feels
they're
bad.
so thick, the accents. It's like so bad.
And even their like clothes and stuff definitely have like a Asian motif to them. It's
Oriental.
It's pretty on the nose.
Yeah. Not great.
No, really not. And then obviously we talked about it a bit, but you get the same thing with what's his face? Watto.
Which is definitely playing off some Jewish stereotypes, which is
like he's got this massive nose, and it's like, oh man, you're not helping here.
I don't get it. It's like I don't know if I was oblivious from like the original trilogy, which was made 20 years before this, didn't seem to have the same issues.
No, because they weren't doing that.
No, but like that's the thing. You'd think the older the film, the more unaware it is. Like that seemed to be more female empowerment, more this. Like Lando, like, is a great character, you know, but like not a stereotype really. And like then you just in this, and like you have Chewbacca, but it's not like, oh, that's that culture, you know.
Yeah,
It's
you
like
have a fish
it's
man.
aliens.
Nobody's offended by a fish man.
No, you have
No.
aliens like doing their own voices and their own languages, not ripping on cultures. It's like,
Yeah.
man, yeah, it's really weird to watch, and it's you can't not see it now. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No, we we're talking about it before the pod, but like Jar Jar has the same thing. He's very like broken sort of Jamaican, Caribbean, African English of some sort. Like there's a clear sort of vibe he's going for.
yep.
And it's just like, why? Like
And
his was what blew me away listening to him. Like, I can't understand what Jar Jar is saying. Even with
yep,
subtitles, I'm like translating,
The
like, I
subtitles
can't
are written in his language too. It's just
yeah.
bad.
yep.
And yeah, and it's just like this is a really offensive, really
Oh,
overly
the amount of times I read Weezer on a bloody
Or Mesa,
subtitle
yeah.
in the last week.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Even like the outfits he wears in 2 and 3, it kind of give me that like he has beads on and stuff like that. Like he does go with that whole aesthetic. I feel like of that
Yeah.
Jamaican culture. Yeah,
Bit
not
bad.
the
It's
less said about Jar Jar, the better.
it's really weird, and I really don't think it would stand up today if they made this film today
No,
No,
with those
not
stereotypes.
at
Like, it would
all.
be cancelled
no
immediately.
chance.
I'd like to think so, anyway. All right,
Yeah.
Attack of the Clones. After an assassination attempt on the life of Senator Amidala, Jedi Knight Obi-Wan Kenobi and his Padawan learner Anakin Skywalker are sent to investigate. After tracking down the assassin, she is killed before any information can be driven out of her. The two Jedi are then sent on two different missions. Anakin is sent to Naboo with Padme, and Obi-Wan is sent to the planet of Kamino, where he will investigate the assassination attempts. Little does he know, he's investigating some of the biggest events in the Star Wars saga. As he finds out that there is a connection between the assassination attempts and a separatist movement led by led by a former Jedi against the Republic, the Galactic Republic finds itself at the brink of a civil war.
So, okay. Hot take. apparently, I thought this was common, but apparently, according to the Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic score, it's not. Is this not easily the worst Star Wars film?
No, wait, no.
No,
It totally is,
this is
man.
this is
No.
my worst one too.
No,
Yeah,
no,
this
no.
is worse than Phantom Menace,
It's not.
easily.
It's
It
really
is.
not. It's really not.
Please defend it.
Really?
Please defend it. I know. I feel like we just talked for about an hour about everything that's wrong with Phantom Menace. There's two good things. There's a fight scene that, as I've already clearly pointed out, makes no sense, and there's a bad pod racing scene. The rest of the film is bad Jar Jar and pointless Tatooine.
All of this film is bad romance and
Yes.
bad
Half
creepy Anakin.
half this film is bad romance. Half this film is a
All of
really,
it.
really cool detective story.
No, so half of
Is it
this
that cool?
is half of this is bad romance. The other
Yeah.
half is Anakin whining.
No, he's in
Like,
the romance.
No, exactly. He's
Yes.
the romance, but
Yeah.
he's also just whining all the time.
Mm.
That's
Like-
in that. There's half the film is the Anakin story. The other half is the Obi-Wan figuring out the clone story. Maybe it's like 55-45, but it's like all of there's two narratives. And
Yeah.
I agree. The
Anakin
again,
stuff is horrible.
I'm not gonna I like the Metacritic thing of 51 and 54. They're almost exactly the same, but there's just the tiniest little improvement because even though the Anakin love story is worse than I don't think it's it's at least funny. Whereas all the bad stuff with Jake Lloyd and
It's not
Phantom Menace
supposed to be
stuff,
funny though.
no, it's not. But nothing in Phantom Menace besides those two other points is interesting or entertaining.
Mm.
Whereas at least through Attack of the Clones, I was laughing through half of it, and every time Anakin says anything, I was like,
Unintentionally
I'd
hilarious.
It
rather
is.
be dreaming of Padme. He's just so
Than my
deadpan
mum.
and weird.
Oh,
Like,
but it's so like
Oh,
straight out of the gate, he is so creepy. Like
Yeah.
the first scene, he's up the elevator. He's like, "No," he's like, "I haven't seen her in 10 years. I've
Mm.
dreamed about her every night." Like, "Oh, I've been having dreams
Uh.
about my mum recently. I'd rather dream about Padme."
Obi-Wan
Next-
should have nipped that in the bud. He should have just
Oh,
been like,
100%.
"Stop it." Yeah. Bad leader. Bad leader.
And the nest scene, he's like, "Oh, I don't think she liked me watching her on the cameras, so she turned the cameras off." Like, and like she's constantly like, "You'll always be that little boy. Stop it. That's
Yeah.
making me uncomfortable." And he's just like, "What is?"
That's the
What?
bit. Look, those are
Like-
there's that one, and when he like touches her and she kind of flinches and pulls away. I'm like, Man, this would not get made this year. That would be like
Would not fly,
red
man. This
flags
is
No.
gone.
completely date rape type of
No.
behavior. He's like not like he's super creepy, and it's like
Yeah.
it seems like she keeps rejecting his advances. Obviously, she just falls head over heels in love with him, and apparently her heart's been breaking every day since he got back, and that's why she was acting cold. But
Like
it seems way more sincere when she's like, "That's uncomfortable the way you're looking at me."
I believe
That's sincere
that.
acting.
Yeah.
When she's saying my heart aches for you, that's not sincere acting. So
For sure. Like all of that is bad. On the rewatch, I'm like that all of that portion of the movie. And the fact they get married in this film, like they've fallen in love and gotten married. I'm like, wow, when did this happen? He
Yeah.
just I'm fairly certain he just force convinced her, right?
He
And
had
she's
time.
actually
He had
quite
time to do all
weak-willed.
that, but not go save his mum. Like,
Yeah,
not free her
useless.
from slavery as soon as he had money and everything. Like, so stupid.
Yeah, all that's terrible. But I'll stand by. I will die on this mountain that Obi-Wan going of investigating this thing, and he's playing kind of
Yeah.
dumb with the weird water planet, and they're like, "Here's the clone army."
Camino.
That's like that's all really cool, and then that's really fun, and a lot more of the visuals in this are exciting because they're not just on desert planet Tatooine. They're on the cool cyberpunk. Is it Coruscant?
Yep.
And that's got that really classic cyberpunk look of flying cars everywhere, cool billboards in neon lights, like all that stuff feels cool.
I mean, yeah, you kind of convinced me. Like, here's the thing:
They're so
the
close, but
the
Yeah.
bad in this, I think, is worse than Phantom Menace. I really couldn't stand watching any of the scenes with Anakin in this
Yeah.
one. Like, they were so bad and ruined the movie for me. But I'll completely, I get that. All the stuff with Obi-Wan doesn't bother me. Like, him going on the clone planet is interesting. I think that planet is interesting with all the it's just all water. Like, it reminds me of that planet from Minnesota. It's really cool. I do like the whole thing with the nightclub and tracking down the assassin and
Yeah,
like,
see, that's so much fun.
and and then Django takes her out when she's going to talk, and yeah, like that's all stuff. It's cool. You have the guy trying to sell death sticks.
That's so good. Yeah, see, all that stuff is cool and it's fun and it's like it has fun with it and it's fun that works because it's kind of like an adventure and thing. I don't think any of the fun stuff in Menace works because it's like Jar Jar taking out an army because he's so dumb, and
yeah.
him go like nothing. Personally, I just think Phantom Menace is so boring. It really has one good scene, which is the Darth Maul fight, and the rest of it, I'm like so
Well,
bored with this film.
Okay, well, is Darth Maul or Count Dooku cooler?
Count Dooku.
No, Darth Maul. What are you talking about?
Count Dooku.
How is Count Dooku better? He's so
Are you
boring.
honestly gonna say that Christopher Lee does not surpass?
Christopher
Dude,
Lee
Christopher
is great,
Lee's awesome.
Yes, yes, he is.
but he's not
Just
given.
Christ-
He's not given that much to do.
No, he's not.
He's really
But
not.
I get he's one of the dudes who I think his sheer presence can carry it. Just having Christopher Lee there really just I don't know. You're hell. Like this guy is evil and a Jedi, and I can see why you kind of want to fall under his spell.
But he does his force lightning really awkwardly. Did you see that? Like he's just like
Yeah.
That's
I
terrible.
thought, yeah.
I hated it.
I had the exact same thought.
He's got this raw power coursing through his veins, and he's just casually like lifting his fingers up. Terrible.
Do you like his lightsaber?
Yeah,
It's just got
I like how they
curved
get
hilt?
weird. I like how they get kind of weird with the lightsabers. I wish they would. I'm glad they go a bit further in the next trilogy we'll cover, but
Yeah.
I want them to get weird with everything. I really wanted Yoda to like never hold a lightsaber. He just controls it with the Force and swings it with the Force. Like, get weird with it, dude.
So okay, we can't talk about this film then without talking about Yoda and the lightsaber. Yay or nay? Because I'm really nay on that.
I had as a question: is seeing Yoda just generally move good?
No.
Good. Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
Yeah, I wanted him to be like a kind of frail old man, like he is 99% of the time, but
Yeah.
using the Force in a really powerful way. I think that's way more interesting.
Yeah.
That's like we don't see the Emperor in the original trilogy with the lightsaber because the way I always looked at it, same as Yoda in the original trilogy, is that these guys are so powerful they don't need a sword anymore. Like Jedi Knights training have these lightsabers. These like Jedi Masters don't really need lightsabers. Like Yoda doesn't need a lightsaber, man. He should be able to mess people up with his mind.
Yeah.
And like it's like he's doing all these little flips around and grunting, and it's like a little Muppet jumping around, and it's
A
just
CGI Muppet, thank you.
yeah,
They really
with
improved
with a
on that.
CGI Christopher Lee as well, and it's just
Yeah.
ridiculous. And then obviously then the next one they do it again, but with bloody Palpatine as well, and
Yeah.
it's
We'll
just
get to
like
that scene because they should never have given him a lightsaber. But anyway,
Yeah. No, I remember that was one of the examples when I was a kid or when I was young and I saw this. I was like, we finally see Yoda being the badass he's always
Yeah.
meant to be. And then the more I think about it and rewatching, I'm like, geez, I wish we never saw that. It is
No.
so much like they get it really right in the Mandalorian with the kid, where he just every now and then uses his force powers
yeah,
and like wrecks stuff. And it's like, oh wow. Oh yeah, all we should have seen is one or two scenes where he does that, or like he kills 10 stormtroopers or clone troopers instantly, or he just like stops this massive thing from falling. You're like, wow, imagine Yoda in his heyday. But we'll never have to see that. He's better. It's so weird to see this crippled old man just ninja around and then go back to being crippled. Like,
Yeah, then he can't walk, but like
yeah,
he pulls a
yeah,
backflips and he's doing backflips
yeah.
upon backflips, and like here's the thing: as a kid, thought it was the coolest thing ever. I'll admit it, like 100%. I was like, oh my god, Yoda with a lightsaber! How could you get cooler than this?
yes.
But I thought a lot of stupid crap when I was a kid. So,
Yeah.
like,
That's why
it,
you're a kid, because you're
yeah,
stupid.
it's not good for adults. So yeah.
No. Speaking of that, force jumping, is that created in this where they can just jump ridiculous distances, or is that in the original trilogy?
Well, I mean, you have the stuff in the original trilogy where like Luke falls and like forces his way to
Oh, yeah,
another hole, but
that train
Yeah.
pipe.
that's not too like I never saw that as like oh that's a new thing. Like I was just like yeah they can do that. There is a weird thing we didn't like. I'm not sure if you guys picked up on it in the very first scene of like Phantom Menace when the droids arrive. Did you
Mm.
see Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon just like disappear off screen? They like run like the Roadrunner off the
Oh,
side of the
yeah, I
Yeah.
screen.
did.
It's
Yeah.
literally them
Yeah.
just going "Phoom," and moving like they're like we better get out of here, and they disappear. Like it's like
Yeah.
what the hell was that? It
It's weird. Yeah.
looks so bad, but yeah,
Force
they do a lot of weird stuff with the
yeah.
Force.
There's a lot of force jumping in this trilogy, like, a lot of characters are just leaping around and sort of flying, and it was I don't know. Again, when you got, like, Palpatine doing triple flips for
Yeah.
no apparent reason, I'm just like, I don't know, I don't get
Yeah.
it.
What did you guys? I felt like there's a lot of Jedi's fighting in this movie. Obviously, like they all fight in that big arena. I don't
Mm.
know. The more I see of like, because I feel like there's a lot of bad choreography in this movie, and especially in that scene. Like there's a lot of people just swinging their like it just. I don't know.
Yeah.
It
There's
removed some of the mystique and skill of the Jedi a little bit. That scene.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a lot of scenes where I felt like, oh, do they think they're fighting at this point, but they're just making them light up their lightsabers? Like there was one person who was like moving their hand when the lightsaber was going, and they're like force pushing off in another direction, but they're not pushing anybody. They're just arriving, and I'm like, are they just standing there pretending to do stuff, and then they've just added in and be like, yeah, that'll do for this shot. Like
Probably.
it's just it feels really weird, and I feel like it's undone when there's just so many as well. Like I don't know, just
Mm.
having all these Jedi just running around, just swinging wildly at stuff. It's just swords. Then
Yeah.
it's not like masters with these cool, super swords or whatever. But yeah,
Yeah. I feel like Star Wars always works best when it's kind of like a shadow of the world it's exploring. Like in the originals, you see that it's under the Empire, and the Republic and the Jedi are all this past legend, and that's why you only
Mm.
see a handful of lightsabers, and you see a handful of people using them. It's kind of compelling. You see Yoda as a shadow of himself, blah blah blah. And even again with things like Mandalorian, you kind of get that same essence of this is when everything has happened. Here's kind of a smaller story, and so when you see these little things about the lore, it's really exciting because they don't exist much anymore.
There's a reason why so many tales are told, like in the shadow of a great war that happened, or
Yeah.
of an apocalypse, of a big event. Like the big event is actually less interesting than how people deal with the aftermath.
Yeah, exactly. I think Star Wars is perfect in that situation.
Yep.
Like showing this here, it's trying to still do that because it's the closing days of the Republic,
Yep.
and you kind of like you're supposed to get that vibe that everything's collapsing, but at the same time, the Jedi Council is full, and yeah, when you see them all fighting, it's just really underwhelming. And they all
Yeah.
They're all crappy fighters. So many of them are dying. Why?
Yeah.
Oh.
So what's your guys' opinion on Mace Windu?
11 out of 10.
Grana?
I like Samuel L. Jackson. I don't think he's I like him in the next movie. I think he's got some good moments in the next movie.
Yeah.
This movie he's not that great in. I like that he has a purple lightsaber. I like the story of him
Yeah.
just being like, I
That's
just want to have a purple
I
lightsaber.
want a purple lightsaber.
It's not
Yeah.
like, oh, he's a
So
grey
dope.
Jedi or anything like that. No, he just wants a purple lightsaber. And I think that's sick. I
Yeah.
enjoy him. Like he's supposed to be like a really feared lightsaber, like a swordsman, but you never really get that impression.
I mean,
No.
he makes quick work of Jango Fett, but it makes Jango Fett look like an idiot.
Yeah,
and he
that's
just
true.
keeps shooting at him over and over again until he gets
Yeah.
his head slopped off.
Jango Fett gets
Yeah.
his head cut off.
Yeah, and then his son picks it up.
Yeah. Well, they
It's
changed
like,
that
is
scene
that the
because
helmet?
well,
Or...
they changed that scene because originally the head falls out of the helmet as it flies off.
Oh,
But they
Really?
took that out because it was too violent. Yeah.
Oh,
that's messed up.
Yeah, it
that's
is
so much
kinda.
cooler, though.
Yeah, it is.
I want that scene.
Because I was gonna be like, it's like his head's in there. Obviously, does he like remove the head from it? Like I was like, what
I never
the-
even thought about that, but no, he keeps it in there. He keeps that as a reminder of why he
yeah,
fights.
sits it up on his thing. He's like, all right, I'll be Boba Fett.
He just talks to his dad. He's like, "What should I do?" There's this rotten face staring back at
Oh
him.
God.
Right on, right on. Yeah, Samuel's cool, but the
Yeah.
character himself doesn't do anything, which is all the Jedi's. Even Yoda, for all his like philosophizing, it's really bad rhetoric. He's just like, "We do nothing. We should." I'm like, "Why are you here, Yoda? Go back to Dagmar."
That's the thing. I feel like Yoda, all he does in these films is just like they're just trying to figure out sentences that he can say in reverse. Like it's not like there's any way like sage advice in there.
No.
It's like just him saying stuff. But two other things. So opinion on the clone army.
What do you mean? Like the philosophy of a clone army, or
No, more about how it's done. Like in this film, at least. We'll get into it more in the next one. But yeah,
I think it's cool. I like it as an idea, as like the progenitor to the stormtroopers. It's like we had this great clone army.
Yeah.
They're all gone now. We now have trained stormtroopers, but they're not as good. I don't know. It just always feels awkward in these movies that it's like the bad guys can never shoot. Like the robots barely ever hit anything.
yeah, geez, the
Yeah.
droids are.
The droids are completely useless. Stormtroopers are completely useless. It just feels, I don't know. It feels like the stakes are kind of low. Like your hero's never going to get hit, so
Yeah.
who cares?
That's the big thing in this one. Like this trilogy feels like it was made for kids, right?
Mm.
Especially the first one. It definitely feels like he's really aiming this at the youngest audience possible for merchandise reasons.
100%.
And whereas the original trilogy still had that sense of like light-hearted adventure, but at the same time there was an emotional core to it. Whereas in this, there's not that emotion, and so all the lightheartedness is just really kind of. It was always taking me out of it because people are supposed to be dying. And I'm like, you got a lightsaber and you cut someone, and they just kind of go, and then collapse. And yeah, the droids come in, they're just shooting nowhere. Like in Phantom Menace, when does Padme reveal her thing? Is that the second one or the first one?
She reveals her
Like,
body double in the first one.
okay. Well, there's a scene where she's shooting with them, and there's droids shooting lasers everywhere, and Jedi's are deflecting things, and she just stands there and keeps shooting
Yeah.
occasionally. I'm like, why is she here? She should be dead. If she's going to be in this fight, she can't deflect it. But it just feels so, underwhelming.
So, with that arena battle, what was your opinion of the big three different types of monsters? Like you had the lion cat type thing, the big clawed dinosaur going after Obi-Wan, and then the bull for Anakin.
I'm a big fan of like arena fights. Like put an arena fight in your movie because I think they're always fun. I think this one's fine. I don't know. The monsters kind of feel underwhelming though. Like I don't know. The Jedi
don't
just get
feel
out of
much.
it really easy. It feels like.
Yeah. I mean, Padme gets out of it.
Yeah.
Like she's the first one up the pole and she
Yeah.
kicks the thing down and just not really threatening. And also just wanted your opinion. Obviously, these films are made 20 years after the original trilogy, but it's very like obvious when it feels like it takes place afterwards. like technology-wise in the world.
Yeah. That was always the awkward thing about like Darth Maul having a
Yeah.
double-bladed lightsaber. It's like, why was nobody else using this? But you can look at it as though, like, that's kind of a society at the end of a war. It's in, or like it's in decline. It's not, at its peak like it is now, or it's about to, about to end its peak. So I think you
Yeah.
can look at it that way as it being a much more scrappy affair. But
Or it's just so evil that only Darth Maul wields it. No one else is even game
it's
to
the
wield
only
it.
one skilled enough.
Or that.
Yeah, maybe.
Like Darth Vader doesn't need it. He doesn't even need a normal lightsaber. He can just force choke everyone through space.
through telecommunications.
Yeah, which doesn't get used enough in these films.
But yeah.
There's a really good scene that I enjoyed at the end of this movie. It's just like they're bringing down the big ships. There's dust everywhere, and you can just basically see the lights from the lasers. Like it's this really dusty scene, but it's just like the light. It just looks really sick. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's one well-made scene in this movie, anyway.
There's occasional moments.
Yeah.
I think the next film has a handful that are like, oh, that's good filmmaking right there.
Yeah.
And so we touched on it earlier. Jar Jar literally causes the death of the things by pushing through this thing to give complete power to Palpatine.
Yeah, why is he a politician?
He's filling in
Padme
for
liked
Padme.
him.
She deserves to die.
And she completely forgets about her duties after the first film. It feels like in the first one, she's such a politician and like strong-willed. I feel like, and then she becomes a damsel in distress. I feel like for
where
two
did all
films,
the
especially
female empowerment
in the
go?
third one. Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of bad comedy with C-3PO in this one as well that just falls flat before the arena fight where he's getting his head knocked off onto
I don't know.
a robot.
The scene where he's like,
oh, you liked it?
He's next to it, and he's like, "I'm beside myself." That's good.
That's not a bad line.
Comedy. That's better than anything Jar Jar ever delivers.
Oh, there's no argument there.
All right, Revenge of the Sith. Nearly 3 years have passed since the beginning of the Clone Wars. The Republic, with the help of the Jedi, take on Count Dooku and the Separatists. With a new threat rising, the Jedi Council sends Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker to aid the captured Chancellor. Anakin feels he is ready to be promoted to Jedi Master. Obi-Wan is hunting down the Separatist General Grievous. When Anakin has future visions of pain and suffering coming Padme's way, he sees Master Yoda for counsel. When Darth Sidious executes Order 66, it destroys most of all the Jedi have built. Experience the birth of Darth Vader. Feel the betrayal that leads to hatred between two brothers, and witness the power of hope.
Damn.
That was a weird synopsis I found. Anyway.
It's got a tagline at the end.
Yeah.
So, getting into Revenge of the Sith, you just completely reminded me of something. Attack of the Clones that I missed. I'm sorry, but how did we miss Anakin finding his mum and killing all the Sand people?
Not just the men, but the women and children too.
Not just the men, the women and the children too. And then she's like, anger gets the best of us sometimes. He's like, I just committed a genocide.
That's right.
She doesn't give a shit.
Oh.
She's like very forgiving of all his red flags.
Yeah,
like right up to the end, right up to the end of Revenge of the Sith. I like him doing that. I think it's a great way to show
it's a good
his
scene.
Other side. It's him hunting them down. I quite like that. Like I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. Even watching this one, that scene stands out to me, and it's a scene I always remembered. Like, he's there talking to the Jawas, and he's like, "Okay, so where did it's like he's doing detective stuff." Goes straight to them, just wipes them all out, brings her body back, does the burial. We get Joel Edgerton there.
That's right.
As Uncle Owen. I hope he grows up to do something in future films. But I like the scene. But it's like, damn, it's shocking.
Yeah, I forgot about that, but that is one of the best. It's really pivotal to his descent and a really good character choice. I think a good moment, because the Sand people suck. They shy easy, but they'll always be back in greater numbers.
Back to Revenge of the Sith. My first note: a freaking coughing droid.
Yeah, my first note too.
I had a big question. Why does he cough?
It's real dumb, but I'm glad he was getting weird Like I
Mm,
was
mm.
happy for him to be like, let's just go all out. This is not a Jedi using lightsabers. This is a freaking robot. He's got 4 of them. He collects
Oh,
them. Like, let's
do you
get
like
strange
it?
with it. Yeah, I
Uh,
I'm, it's not, I don't think it's handled like I don't think he's a great character or anything like that, but I appreciate him at least exploring some weirdness rather than just
yeah,
another Jedi with another lightsaber and another set of the
Yeah,
same powers we've seen before.
I
yeah. I
get it, but
like.
man, he sucks with those 4 sabers.
Mm,
He lasts like 2 seconds and then loses 2 of them. It's like be
True.
cool to see him mess someone up with 4 lightsabers and be
yeah,
like, oh shit, like
Like
okay.
literally chop someone up into little bits when he does his helicopter thing.
Because he's like,
That'd be
I have
cool.
learned this from Count Dooku. He's trained me, and then just starts spinning him really fast and walking towards him like a helicopter.
I'm
Like,
sure
if
Count
I
Dooku didn't
start
do that.
spinning my blades really fast
And you
and
get
walk
hit.
towards you,
The
yeah.
coughing made no sense, but
No,
it
But
makes him quirky.
see, here's the thing. I almost didn't bring it up, and obviously you guys would have anyway. But like, because they do weird stuff with him later, where like they show like an organic heart in his
yeah.
Yeah, I was
chest,
gonna say, yeah, and he has like
and like
fleshy
hit the
eyes and stuff.
eyes. So
I
maybe
think
they kept his throat in, and he's
what
like,
it's suggesting is that the droids actually aren't droids; they're people who've been like grafted into robots in a nightmarish turn of events.
yeah,
That would be
these
more
poor
interesting than what we got.
Roger
And that's kind of
droids.
what it feels like. It feels like he is this half robot, half human
Yeah.
that's like created for whatever reason to lead the droids.
Wasn't that?
And
Yeah, I always thought like I'm sure there's like someone cringing at us talking about this now. They're like, no, you got to watch the Clone Wars. This is his history. But I feel like that's his that gives him some force sensitivity, so he can wield the lightsaber properly or something weird like that. Like I feel like that's where they're
Yeah,
trying to go
damn.
with
well,
it.
yeah, it has to because if it's organic, it has midichlorians in it,
That's right.
as has been
Do a
established.
blood
So,
test and you'll know how many.
He was immaculately
oh.
conceived. I kind of like the whole opening arc of this film with
Yeah.
the ending, like finalizing the whole thing with Count Dooku, and that fight end in front of the Emperor or whatever. I like that.
I think Count Dooku deserved better, but I don't mind this opening scene. Like, yeah, I enjoy the droid walking on the outside of the ship. It's cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's right.
Grievous, yeah, and like ejecting all the pods, and them
Yeah.
having to land this giant ass ship.
Yep.
but yeah, I do like how Anakin disarms Dooku and then Palpatine telling him to kill him. Like
Yeah.
that's
Do
Dooku
it.
obviously deserved better, but yeah, like it's clear the line is drawn. Like, was it like obviously like people know from like the very first film, like, oh, this is like it's because it's quite obvious, obviously, that Palpatine is Sidious.
Yeah.
But like I don't know what the like if people when they were young, like when Phantom Menace first came
Yeah.
out, if people just assumed that, or like as a kid, I definitely didn't, like
I had the same
until probably
thought.
this film. But
Is it meant to be a twist or is it because they intentionally never show his face. It's always just the jaw and it's
Yeah, but he's called Palpatine in both. He's called Palpatine in the original trilogy, isn't he? Or is he just called the
I don't-
Emperor?
he's just the Emperor, isn't he?
yeah,
Yeah,
I thought he
maybe
was
you're right. It's so
Battle
obvious. Though.
Master. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially like because at the end of Phantom Menace, they have that shot when Qui-Gon's at Qui-Gon's funeral, where Yoda's like, "Always two there are," and he's like, "But who's the master then?" And it like zooms in on Palpatine's face.
I'll never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I do like that scene, and I like the banter between Obi-Wan and Anakin in that. Like I want more of that. You get that a bit in Attack of the Clones as well, but I do like when they're just brotherhood, like brotherly, instead of Anakin whining about Obi-Wan behind his back
Mhm.
all the time. Like,
Yeah.
he's holding me back and this and that, and
Is
yeah.
it just me, or is Hayden Christensen a lot better in this movie? Like I don't know if he's directed better or he's improved his acting, but I feel like I somewhat enjoyed his performance in this movie, whereas he was just unbearable in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
better because as an actor, he's made a couple of decent films before this. So he's
Jumper
not.
Man.
I think I was after, but either way, so he's not like a terrible actor on his own. But yeah, something's wrong in number two, and this is. I don't. There's probably some more character to know as well, and just be
Yeah.
angry. He's like, I can do that. But
And
yeah,
he's
there's
not as much in a romance plot, where he's
yeah,
like,
Yeah.
I
like
feel like I've
there's
read
no
somewhere
chemistry.
with him saying that like it was bad direction as well. Like he was told to act very dramatically and very serious, and somber, like in part 2. Like,
So
yeah.
these films have a real like stage play feel about them.
Mm.
Like all the emotion is really heightened. All the like the comedy is really slapstick. All the fights are really like flashy choreographed. It feels kind of like this is meant to be almost on the stage. And that's what he's acting for in all of them. Like again, Revenge of the Sith has the best, most emotional line in anything. I'll hate you. And like that's so over the top and so bad. But like it kind of works in this world where everyone wears their feelings on their sleeves.
I
Yeah,
don't think that's bad. I like that.
that whole
actually.
final scene is pretty. I enjoy it.
From both
Guys,
parties. Like Obi-Wan's
this
great
is-
in that scene.
Yeah,
But like, come on, you got your legs cut off and you're crawling after a dude and you're like,
Yeah.
I hate you, really? That's your choice, Luke?
yeah.
Out of
No, but
any other
he's
word,
a whiny teenager. He's like he's been sent to his room. He's just like,
You've
"Man,
heard. You've heard
kids
him
do that."
flirt. He doesn't have anything better than that. He's got no
Yeah.
game.
Has no tact, man. He's just, yeah, you stink, Obi-Wan. Yeah,
Oh,
basically.
Stay out of my room.
Yeah.
How do you
Is
guys?
this-
Sorry.
You go.
How do you
No,
guys?
you go.
This is I'm totally off track. But how do you guys feel about Wilhelm screens? They appear in all these movies. I felt like the most egregious one was in the third, but do they have a place in cinema?
Yeah, always.
You're okay with them?
These films tones aren't serious enough to really to make it off-putting to me.
The only time I've ever had a problem with it was when it was used for Boba Fett flying into the Sarlacc pit. That's not cool.
Well, it
That's
stands
not
out
cool.
a lot. I don't
Yeah,
mind it when it's
but-
like amongst everything else. I just feel like sometimes it's like winking at the camera. Hey, we put it in. Did you hear
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, that's no good.
I feel like it's several times in this film. Like, and I feel like anytime someone falls from a height, it's like
That's actually the clone troopers scream, like the actor did that. And it just
Yeah.
coincidentally was identical.
Is this the best of this trilogy?
My opinion is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hands
'Cause-
down.
I've got a hot take.
No.
All right, well, wait, can we come back to that, or should we list all the things
okay.
that are good in
I'll
this?
save it. I'll save it.
Because some of the like I was talking before, some of the moments in Revenge of the Sith are really tops. Like the whole Execute Order 66 sort of montage,
Yep.
Yes.
really well done. A lot of great scenes. Like it feels pretty weighty and emotional, and you see everyone getting butchered.
Like Anakin walking into the younglings. My
younglings,
wife's
yeah.
like, "Does he kill all them?" I'm like,
Mine
"Honey,
is too.
You've seen this movie? Yes, he does."
And she was like, "No, he can't do that." I'm like, "No, he does. It's
Yeah.
confirmed."
It's
My-
yeah.
Mine was worse. My 6-year-old son was traumatized by that scene.
You just looked at him and said, "It's coming
was
for
like-
you."
Exactly. You better behave.
So yeah, he's the boogeyman now. Anakin will get you if you don't behave.
Yeah.
Like
Master
that scene,
Skywalker, he's coming.
like that scene's really good. All of the final scene between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, or Anakin, is really good.
Yep.
I like Grievous. I don't remember what
Yeah.
else happened. I fell asleep for a while in this movie.
No,
What happened?
so, okay.
What happened in the middle part?
There's like the whole investigation where Obi-Wan and Yoda get away, and then they meet up again, and they try to work out what happened.
Yes.
How did all the younglings die? And then
You have-
Yoda has that fight in the Senate with Palpatine. I am the Senate.
Not great.
You
No.
have- Everything with like Palpatine trying to convince Anakin, like tell him about Darth Plagueis the Wise and like all this sort of stuff,
Yeah.
and
That's right.
telling him to spy on the Jedi Council, and the Jedi Council being like, "Well, you spy on him," like, and both coming at it from both sides.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of emotion in this film that I think isn't in either of the other two. None of the emotion is in the other two at all.
No.
This one has a sort of, I feel something for Anakin. You do kind of feel the choice he's trying to make.
Mm.
And you feel between Obi-Wan, like Obi-Wan feels betrayed at the end, and there is kind of a weight to all of this, which really like puts it head and shoulders above the other two, I think.
No, I like. Here's the thing. So, I definitely think this is the best of this trilogy. My hot take is that it's also better than Return of the Jedi.
I don't think so. Not in my opinion. Like,
I-
Return of the Jedi is not a perfect movie by any means, but I don't think this is better than it.
Yeah.
I'd rather this film than more Ewoks. Conan, come on.
Like, whilst
You're my
I
brother, Conan.
whilst I agree with a lot of I agree with a lot of that part. As an entirety, though, it's the same thing. a half of Return of the Jedi that's really good is better than almost everything in Revenge of the Sith. And so I would,
Oh.
I like watching all the stuff with Boba and with Jabba and all
Really?
that.
You liked all them CGI characters coming in,
I
dancing
don't
with their
like.
big lips
Obviously,
and
I
singing
don't
in
like
front
that
of the screen?
nonsense. I
It
like that
ruined
whole
that
thing.
whole Jabba Palace, man.
Look,
For me.
if we're not talking about anything that's CG, everything's ruined in Star Wars.
Yeah.
I think I like that first part. I like elements of Return a lot more than I like Revenge
Yeah.
is really good though. Like, I have had that thought a lot. I'm like, does this is it like comparable or does it overtake it? Because I do think this is a pretty decent film.
It's
Like the other two are bad. This is actually a solid movie.
it's the only one I'd put over Return of the Jedi. Like, as in, it's the only Return of the Jedi is the only movie I'd put this over. Like, I'm not. It's no A New Hope or Empire Strikes
No.
Back. No, not by a long shot. But I really don't vibe with Return of the Jedi. That just might be me. Especially this most recent rewatch, I was really just frustrated by the CGI edits. Like especially in
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi, it really bothered me. And the Ewoks,
Yeah.
obviously. And you get the Gungans in Return of the Jedi too, man. There's more
Yeah,
Gungans in Return of the Jedi than there is in this one.
That's true.
You
Yeah.
get one Gungan.
I truly do think when I think back to Return, I think of the original version. Like I think of Sebastian
Yeah.
Shaw. I think of Jabba's palace. It's a lot more accurate. I don't think.
Yeah.
And on the rewatch, I was like, oh, these scenes are all. I forgot about some of these, and they're all grating. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
if it was just those two, I guess if I had to get rid of all cuts of Return, maybe I take Revenge. But
But like you said, I really love Order 66. Like, I hate it,
Yeah.
but like it's such a powerful scene. Like, it's like, oh shit. Like that moment where like it hits Yoda and he's like, oh, like his
Mm.
heart hurts because he
Yeah.
just feels everyone dying.
Yep.
Like you feel like that. You're like, man, it's really just they've worked with them for like the last two films, all these clones. Like Commander Cody was just talking to Obi-Wan and he's just like, shoot him down. Like, boom, shoots him out of the sky. It's brutal. And like you see some of them, yeah, the way they get taken down, it's really rough. They shoot that woman on the ground just like repeatedly, like just keep
yeah,
shooting at her.
geez,
It's
I
just
wish
like,
there was some sort
excessive.
of gunshot though. Like they're just shooting her and
I
there's
know,
nothing happening. I'm like,
I know, yeah, but it's
that's
because all CGI characters are in
yeah.
another CGI
Yeah.
character.
But
But outside of that as well, like I really like the confrontation between Mace Windu and Palpatine as well. That's
My problem with that scene is they shouldn't have given Palpatine a lightsaber to start with. His
No.
forced loop backflip jump at them is really awkward. It's the original shooting
Yes.
star meme, which is really good, but it's not great. There's three Jedi that go there to confront him, and he literally one shots two of them.
Takes them
like,
out like
Yeah.
chumps,
like
man.
nothing.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
was-
know.
I
It
thought
was
the
too
sa-
convenient.
it is really bad that scene where one of them's just standing there. It's kind of gets
He literally just jumps
Well-
at them after doing this really dramatic scream and jumps
Yeah.
at them. They stand there and he takes out two of them.
Well, the other one raises a sword at least, but the first one just stands there and gets. His scream or his snarl is really pissed me off. Every time he fights, he just like hisses at them.
Yeah.
Stop
and
it.
pulls the faces. He pulls them faces.
Yeah.
Where it's like it. I don't know. It's like
I don't love that choice.
There was something on Reddit ages ago that there is a thing called a force scream that paralyzes people, and people speculated that that's what he's doing
That's
when
such
he
a
jumps and spins at them, and them two people are like, oh, with their
Their force
lightsabers up in
guns?
the air. They were paralyzed temporarily,
Oh.
and he got them.
It feels like such a retcon though. Like it's such a explain away a bad plot hole.
But
Yep.
the editing is so bad in these movies that I wouldn't be surprised if
Yeah, true.
that was shot, and Lucas is just going, no, we just need that one part.
But Mace, I enjoyed Mace Windu and Palpatine, like their confrontation, and
Yep.
Anakin stepping in and him getting the lightning shock shit
brutal.
out of him,
Yeah.
and his
I love
face
Force Lightning.
changing.
Force
and
Lightning's
Their
Getting
attackers left me
deformed.
deformed.
Getting deformed. I love him playing possum and just being like, I'm weak. Like I've but he's just unlimited power and like obviously it's a meme as well how he says it, but like that it is cool, and like poor Mace Windu, man, gets his arm lopped off, thrown out the window, and just it feels heavy. And Anakin from that point, man, just goes full tilt evil. Like it's like conflict and moral dilemma. stuff it. Let's go murder some kids.
I've picked a
Like,
side now. I'm not going back.
it's
Yeah.
too late. I killed Mace Windu. They ain't gonna forgive me. Here we go.
We do need to talk at some point about his overall arc. Like, I don't know. What do you guys think of it in general? His whole descent, because I feel like there's a lot of kind of switch flipping in this, where it is just I make a choice and I've decided to commit. And I think overall the love story in general is awful. I don't think that's the right way to go down the path. Like, I don't know. What do you guys think, both as it played out and like what do you think it should be?
I wish, like, because, like you said, like the original trilogy is so black and white. Like, there's the light side and the dark side, and obviously, there's the temptation to the dark side, but it's very clear cut. I wish they had made his descent to the dark side a lot more grey. Like I wish there had been time. Like, there's no real time where he thinks he's doing the right thing, but it's actually the wrong thing. Like, I wish they had gone that path a bit more. Like, he kills Count Dooku at the start at the behest of Palpatine, but he knows it's wrong. Like, he knows he's not
Yeah.
doing the right thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, it's a weird switch where he's just like does it and he's like, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's never a moment where he never's like, I hate this guy. This guy didn't wrong me. He's just kind of like, I guess I better kill him. It's really weird.
Yeah, like I kind of in some ways wish like the Jedi Council had sent him on a mission. He'd done it and then realized he'd done something wrong in obeying their orders, because there's definitely a sense in these movies that the Jedi Council has failed in their duty as well. Like they haven't, they've obviously allowed Anakin to be trained as, like they haven't vetted him properly, and like they're very
Well,
they have inaction, like they do nothing. They're just very wait and see.
Yep.
Which obviously comes back to bite them. But I feel like they could have made them, issue an order that sends him to do something that ultimately was wrong.
Yeah. Inaction's their whole thing in this. They don't do anything, and that kind of is the evil thing or the bad thing that they do. Yeah. Luke, what do you think?
That's the thing. Like, I feel like I don't mind the way they did it. It's more about how they did it. Like, if you know what I mean. Like, it could have been done better with what they did, both performance-wise and writing-wise. Because I like the whole scene. I like what happened with his mum in Attack of the Clones and like his reaction to that and this anger, and that leading down the path of like, I don't want this to happen now to the love of my life. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird because she dies of a broken heart or lost the will to live.
Yeah, that's the
So
exact wording.
she died.
She's physically fine, but she's lost the will to live. It's so I feel
That's
like
not how it works. Because I'd be a goner.
Lots of people would die in their teenage years if that was the case. Yeah,
Exactly. In a mass test, just people dropping dead.
It's real dumb, and it feels like they just didn't have a better way to, because she can't live, obviously. Like,
No.
she can't survive and be in the original trilogy. So how do they fix it? And I feel like they didn't have an answer for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
There's that's the thing. It goes in the whole thing of the Force Scream again, where people come in and retcon things that make it better. But there was this whole speculation that it was like Palpatine withdrawing the life force from her to bring Darth Vader like to life, since he was so on the brink of death.
That's another scene that's really cool. That comparison, like the birth of the kids and the birth of Darth Vader.
Yep.
Really good montage there.
That it's cool, and that's the thing, like that helmet coming down, like, and that music playing, it's like this haunting, like, orchestral sound with that helmet coming down. You have the air hissing noise like kick in, and then the breathing, and it's like,
yeah, just it waits for a moment.
But again, I feel like it's ruined when he yells no. I don't like that. It's like,
my wife looked at me and she's like, "That was a dumb," and I was like, "Yes, it was."
It doesn't feel sincere. It's just like, no. It's like the dude in The Mummy too, when he leans on his knee and he's like, no, it's that.
Oh, it's Imhotep all over again.
Yep. So, but like you touched on earlier, I love the final fight. I do. It gets a bit ridiculous in sometimes where they're just twirling like the lightsabers around and not even connecting with each other at one point.
I mean, they're both standing on this tiny little platform on a lake of lava. Like, surely one of them can get the upper hand in that situation, but
yeah.
Anyway,
but it looks cool. It looks cool. The whole thing with the higher ground, and he warns him, and Anakin's just too cocky, and he
Yeah, that's great.
cuts him down. And
Again,
Ewan McGregor's performance in that is great.
Yeah, he's just acting his heart out. It's great. He feels like the guy in these movies that's like, I don't know. He feels like the Star Wars fan, right? Like he feels like the guy who's
And
happy to
he
be
is.
there and he loves the character and wants to play it well.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean, maybe I don't think he's directed any different, surely, but he just works so well.
No, he's one of the actors who I think, like with Liam Neeson in the first one, you probably just say, "Hey, do this," and they just know what to do because they're professionals. Like Ewan McGregor would easily just be bringing so much. That's all him. I don't think any of that would be Lucas really. Whereas some younger actors, you need to help guide them.
And like that thing, Ewan McGregor, like, do you guys know? Like, he's a massive Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
Like, there's all the rumors that like he used to run around making noises on set, like when he was swinging lightsabers around, like making the lightsaber noises and stuff. But I feel like, and I know I read an interview where he said that he did this, but he really does feel like a younger Alec McGuinness. Like,
How do you mean? Like
as
his
in the way
career?
the way he perform, like acts.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like
Yeah,
he feels like a younger version of that Obi-Wan. Like
I
in
felt that in the
like
third
his
one
voice and
especially.
stuff. Yeah.
And it's kind of like he's he's not sarcastic, but he's got a bit of like he's got humor to him.
Yeah.
And there's moments that like Alex Guinness has as well. I'm like he got that sort of line, that vibe really well.
Yeah.
Hello there. Yep.
I just that the line from Anakin, from my point of view, the Jedi.
Probably the worst.
That was what I was gonna have as my quote.
It's probably the worst line of dialogue in any movie.
He says it so sincerely too.
Just like,
oh yeah, well, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
I'm like, even just literally just replace that with the word perspective, and it's better.
Yeah,
but I'm like, I just cannot imagine. I can't figure out how that got the green light. I mean, I can't. George Lucas saw it and was like, "That's a green light," but it's so bad. It's so poorly delivered. It's just so poorly.
George Lucas wrote it the morning of filming it, but it doesn't even make any sense. Like, there's no logic behind. How does he see them as evil? Like they could have gone that way, but they didn't, and it's just
that's what I mean. In this one, there's that weird thing again where he's fishing at like the Jedi are going to be evil. They're going to betray me, but we never see a reason for that. We only ever see him getting slightly convinced by Palpatine for no apparent reason, and there's this constant duality of his descent is because of like his arrogance and his youthfulness, and he wants to be better and he wants to be a Jedi, and they're all like, no, you're too young, you're going to be on the council, but you're not a master. And that's kind of what should be the main thing, but they really just push this love story, and that kind of is the reason why he does this decision, but it doesn't feel earned. I don't know. In the third one, there's a lot of half of it is him like, I need to do this to save Padme. And then the rest of it is like, the Jedi are evil. I'm doing this because I need to save democracy. Like, you don't need those motivations. You don't need to try to convince yourself for both of them. Pick one and go with it.
It's like the main turning point thing that convinces him, like, no, this is wrong, is Mace Windu being like, no, he's too evil to be left alive. We need to be killing it. Like, we need to kill him. And he's like, no, he needs to stand trial. And it's like, well, at the start of this movie, it wasn't a problem when he was telling you to murder this guy and you did it. But now it's like, no, the Jedi are evil because they're going to kill him. Like, it's,
it really irks me because I would love to see that sort of arc of this guy who's constantly just like, I can be better. And even if you exploring the idea of the Force as something that's not like good or bad, looking at it as like the Force is just this concept. And to truly master the Force, you can't be bound by good or evil. You got to practice all sides of it to know it. Like that would be more compelling. And then he's like, because then he wouldn't see himself as evil either. He'd be like, no, I'm perfecting the Force. I'm mastering this thing. And they're like, oh, but you can't master all of it. It's evil. And that would be
swing both ways, Obi-Wan.
Yeah, and that would be this great twist and turn of him like, no, I'm the truest Force user. Oh, but I become evil in doing that. Rather than, it's like I'll kill Count Dooku, but I draw the line at Windu.
Count Dooku, who now has no hands because I lopped his hands off.
Hands are very replaceable in the Star Wars universe. It's
Yes,
almost
they
It's
are.
almost nothing to lose your hands. You'll just have to wear a glove for the rest of your life.
It's just a scene. Yep.
It's
Man.
true.
Jar Jar only shows up for a funeral in this one, which is probably why it's the best of the
Yeah.
trilogy.
Yeah.
Doesn't even talk.
Yeah,
No, just a cameo.
the decline of Jar Jar's screen time, but also like how much he speaks is it's a testament to him actually seeing the response to him in the first movie, I suppose. But he's so unnecessary in that first movie. Like he just does not need to be there 99% of the time.
No.
It's so
Yeah, you don't need comedic relief in a light-hearted adventure. Like
unnecessary.
I don't know. It is.
So, Revenge of the Sith, the best. What's the worst? Are we going with Phantom
Oh
Menace?
man.
It's
The
so
romance
close.
plot
It's
in
so
Attack of the
close.
Clones is so bad.
Like, yeah, again,
Hayden
I will-
Christensen is the worst.
Jake Lloyd.
The growth of his hair is directly responsible. When he has short hair, is the worst. But the more hair he goes, the better.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
I just no. I do think that a lot of people I talk to actually originally I always thought first was the worst, second was the middle. But then most people I know think the first is better than the second. I just every time I rewatch, if I ever do a rewatch, which every couple of years I generally do, I skip the first one. I honestly find I can look at the Darth Maul fight on YouTube and it saves me 2 hours and 10 minutes.
I feel like I'd be skipping Attack of the Clones. I just
That's
I get it. Like here's the thing, I'm happy with it because the Obi-Wan stuff is good, like for the most
it
part.
is.
Yeah.
In number 2, and thinking about it, like a couple of years, I could watch the Obi-Wan stuff again. I don't want to ever see the Anakin stuff
The
again.
love
Not
story.
even when you're feeling blue and you want to laugh.
Oh man,
I don't laugh at cringy bad acting though. Like I don't find it funny. Like it's not funny in the same way The Room is funny. Like
No, you're right.
it just doesn't hit me that way. It doesn't tickle me that way. I don't.
I know the sand speech though is every time I see it I laugh because that's like a room level scene in itself.
True.
The rest of it's not. It is just really bad. But I know.
The thing is, like, the problem with it is he comes across so whiny in number 2. Like everything he sooks about is childish. The way he acts is childish about it. And all the stuff with Padme, it really seems like this like teenager who's like really love drunk on this girl. Like he seems like he asks like, oh, it seems like when they're in the field, he's basically sort of asking about like her love life or who was her first kiss or something, and she's talking about this guy, and he's like, "That's enough of that. I don't want to hear about that anymore. He's probably dead anyway." Like he doesn't care, and then he's talking about how dictatorships are probably good. He's like, "Well, if it works," he's just like super serious and like, oh yeah, I can't watch it,
He
man.
is so annoying. Yeah.
Yeah,
So annoying.
Yeah, look, I'm happy to give it. I'm happy to put 2 as the worst, just to appease.
No,
Darth
like
I
Maul
was happy to
fans.
put 1 as the worst because
Alright, good. Alright, let's do that.
I don't
Good.
like because I just don't feel that strongly about either of them. It's literally one scene in the first one and a subplot in the second one that I enjoy. Like it's
The question I
Yeah.
see it as is what's the worst part? What's the worst thing in general about the trilogy? It's 3.
love
It's 3.
plot in number 2.
it's the love plot
it's
number
ju-
2.
no, it's
It
Jar Jar
totally
Binks.
is.
It's Jar Jar
No,
Binks.
it really is. It
Jar
really
Jar.
is, man.
No way.
Yeah.
Luke, you
But-
weren't talking to your hairdresser about the love plot. You're talking to him about Jar Jar Binks.
Oh,
Okay.
damn it. Come back to haunt me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think easily Revenge of the Sith is the best of this trilogy.
For
Like,
sure.
It's the one I can think back and be like, oh, I'll watch that again. Like, yeah.
I remember seeing it and thinking, man, imagine if the rest of the trilogy was this quality. Like, it's not like the best movie ever, but it would be such a decent trilogy. Like, it'd be such a decent addition to the universe. But it's just not, unfortunately.
No, for sure. I have some other questions.
Hmm.
Which Obi-Wan is the best? Jesus Obi-Wan from number 2 or
Obi-Wan 3, Revenge of the Sith Obi-Wan. I like Jesus
got a big
Obi-Wan. I do like Jesus Obi-Wan.
pretty cool.
But goatee Obi-Wan in the third one.
Yeah.
And I feel like his acting is the best in the third one. Like what he has to work with, at least in the third
I think
one.
you're trying to get us to compare Alec Guinness to Ewan McGregor.
That's a good question
I
too.
would rather watch Ewan McGregor all day. Alec Guinness,
same.
he's fine, but Ewan
Yeah.
McGregor
It's not
just exudes
remarkable.
this joy for Star Wars that Alec Guinness obviously didn't have.
No, he really didn't. I agree with that. Um, can you guys explain to me why the trade union is doing any of this? Because we find out in Revenge of the Sith that he's just going to betray them, and Sidious is just going to kill them all. Why are
Hmm.
they ever doing this? Because they're working for the Dark Lord, but they're not Siths. There's never ever established a reason for them to blockade it. They're just like, we're doing this because the Dark Lord said. Like,
They're just trying to take over that planet, get more power.
is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
Not very
Lame.
smart.
It's a
Um,
bad trope in movies that you just do what the bad guy tells you to do. Like it's very common, and it's not.
And Anakin just messes them up too. He just wipes them
Yeah.
all out. But I just want to say it's kind of funny the ending of 3, like that Luke really got the short end of that stick with the adoption agency. Like
Yeah.
one's raised to be a princess.
All right, that's my other question.
You're going out onto a dirt planet to be a moisture farm.
You're gonna hate it.
So
Yeah.
the family she ends up with, they're royalty because he's a senator. Jimmy Smith's character is is Senator Organa.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are they royalty on their planet?
but I mean, Padme is a senator after being queen of Naboo.
Yes.
Yeah, so of their planet.
They talk about how it's a shame, it's a shame you can only serve two like seasons as queen or whatever, which is so dumb. That's not how monarchies work. But anyway,
No.
just call her prime minister or something instead.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was trying to figure out why Leia was princess. So I'm like, it's not because her mum was Padme, even though that also works.
Yeah, I wonder if Padme, after she's no longer queen, are her kids princesses and princes? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird monarchy that doesn't make any sense.
They don't
And
want it to know
speaking,
it's Padme's kid.
yeah, so that would have never worked. Speaking of this, how does Lords work? They call him Lord Vader. Like, does he have land holdings? Why is he a lord, and why is he sometimes like
He's-
master?
His brother-in-law bought him a
Sometimes
bit in
Darth.
Scotland on Facebook. Bought him like a little bit of land, so he's technically a
Square
lord
meter.
now.
Yep.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of
That's what I heard,
he also doesn't have he doesn't have an apprentice at that point, but he's also called Master Vader, and so I feel like the regal system is out of whack.
But he named him Master because that's the rank he could never achieve under the Jedi, right? Like he's giving him that thing that he wants.
Exactly.
Can you be a master with no apprentice though?
Conan, you're looking into this too much.
There's a lot of questions I need answered.
Last week you were celebrating the names of characters about how good they are, and they continue to be good in this. Like
yes,
Kit Fisto, what a name! Love it.
All the
Yeah, Plo Koon.
All the names are great. Like Darth Sidious. What's the other one? Who's the
Mace
older one?
Windu's cool.
Mace Windu's cool.
Darth Plagueis.
Plagueis. Like all of the names. Again, George Lucas continues that tradition. Great world builder. Great name giver.
Yeah.
Jar Jar Binks. Everyone has an off day.
Doesn't do well with just the understanding of how titles work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
Also, if midi-chlorians are living in a person, that person loses their arms and legs. Do they lose some of those midi-chlorians?
Oh yeah. Yep.
It's like blood, right? If you cut you lose some blood in your body. Like
you regrow blood.
You do, but after the fact.
Maybe, yeah.
I feel like Darth Vader should have at least like a third less.
But I wonder through training.
Yeah, where's all these midichlorians? He's all robotic now.
That's what I mean. He's just a torso.
Yeah, midichlorians ruined Star Wars. Like they don't make any sense.
It really did.
It's just really stupid.
And they get rid of it anyway.
I'm glad they don't ever bring it up ever again.
Yeah.
It's forgotten knowledge by the time of the original trilogy.
Oh, it's like, what is it?
Then they just think it's a spiritual thing. They don't know. It's just in their blood.
It actually makes a lot of sense. It just passes on into legend.
That's what I was going to say. I completely blanked on earlier. I do like the shot. Like it very much straight away as soon as they show Darth Vader on the ship, and Sidious there, and you have like the Grand Moff Tarkin looking guy there straight away. Like the aesthetic of that ship and the captains. It's like, oh, this is the old Star Wars. You know, like it's very much a different vibe, like that ship and like that look, and it's cool to see the Death Star in its early plannings.
That is fun.
Do you guys think these movies are better if they're released first.
They need to be different movies.
Yeah, I agree.
Because a prequel is different to a first film, right? There's so much information in this that the film is made with us knowing.
Yeah.
That if you just release this, because there's a really funny podcast, I think I've talked about it, called Blank Check, where they talk about that. And they're talking about, like, imagine seeing this film in its proper chronological order and how much nonsense it would be. Like, nothing would make sense. The narrative is all over the place.
Yeah.
But it's because of, a prequel is very different. So
yeah,
you need to make a whole
definitely come in with a lot of knowledge. And like the ending too, which it's different, but it's kind of fun to see how they get there, right? Like you can change, like you don't have a twist ending, but you can have some, you can change some expectations along the way. It's fun.
Yeah. Like, tragedy's a classic genre for a reason. We like seeing how people have downfalls. It's Luke, your thoughts?
Oh, Anakin got all burnt up, and that's why he looked all weird. I did like that, how, like, when before the helmet goes on, you're like, oh, that's him, but young, He grew his hair back as a Force ghost later on, but that was his last moment of being good.
Oh, that
being
choice!
with the Force.
That choice makes me so mad.
That's all. That's all I've got to say.
We still got to wrap this up. So thank you for joining us on The Good, the Bad, and the Worst. If you enjoyed this podcast, you might like our gaming podcast, Bonus XP, which is available on all your favourite podcast platforms. This podcast was brought to you by the fantastic book, The Taste of Iron by C.V. Clarke.
Oh, look at that.
Available on. I remember to put it on my desk this week. Available on Amazon. Join us for our next podcast in the Star Wars trilogy, which is the sequel trilogy. I'm really keen for this one because I think it's going to be polarizing. I think there's a bit to discuss.
Takes galore.
Hot takes galore in this one. I am ready. I'm loading my shotgun for this next one. I can't wait.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on The Good, the Bad, and the Worst. We'll catch you next time.
May the Force be with you.
Can't beat that.